Now, when it comes to deadlines, the Obama administration has written the book on delaying them, from Obamacare to the most recent punt, pushing the Keystone pipeline decision past the 2014 midterms. Now, what drove this latest delay, you might ask? Well, how about the fact that billionaire Democratic donor Tom Steyer pledged $100 million to Democratic candidates with anti-Keystone positions? Well, despite this obvious connection, DNC chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz still doesn't see any political motivation in the delay.
As a member of Congress who represents hundreds of thousands of people in South Florida, I want to make sure that the right decision is arrived at and that the president makes that decision carefully and doesn't factor politics into his decision, which I don't think he is.
Meanwhile, Jay Carney had the gall to claim congressional Republicans are to blame for the delay.
The president has been consistent in always wanting the process to be conducted on the merits and in keeping with past practices of administrations of both parties. And we have seen attempts to inject politics into this, actions by Congress, for example, that have actually served to delay the normal process that the State Department runs.
Poor things. They just don't see it. And Jay Carney's wearing glasses. What is his excuse? Debbie, I can see. All right, I mean, it seems pretty obvious, but when it's something to do with the Republicans data, then, oh, yes, it's so obvious, the coercion, the corruption, the undue influence. Here they're saying we don't see it.
It was often said that the press secretary's job is the second hardest one in Washington, and I think that is true for, in this case, and for Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who's the DNC chairwoman. And they're going to have to try to make this case, but I think it's not very persuasive from their perspective. First of all, let's talk about when this announcement was made. It wasn't made today on Monday when everybody's back to work. They called a statement, a press conference call at 2 p.m. on Friday, not just any Friday, but Good Friday, when everybody was, going to go home for the weekend. That's a tactic that people have used in the past. I know a little bit about that. I don't think it works as well anymore with the 24/7 news cycle, because here we are on Monday still talking about it, and for good reason. The administration's own analysis shows that there would be no environmental impact and that the jobs would actually increase. And so what you have is a question of environmentalists versus common sense energy policy, and the environmentalists won this round. My last point before we kick it around the table is that one of the things the administration said is that they want the local legal issues to play out in Nebraska before they get involved. That might be persuasive if they hadn't overstepped local legal decisions in almost all the other major cases, such as immigration is one and gay marriage is another. Both and sentencing for criminals. All of those decisions are coming from the U.S. Department of Justice, a federal decision impacting state and local decisions. So I think, again, their arguments fall short of being persuasive.
Okay, so you're giving them, I would like, what, an F? D minus?
They didn't pass.
They didn't pass the test. Okay, and then again, it's pretty conspicuous that they're doing this kind of political dumping on a Friday, let alone Easter weekend. Bad form, people. All right, Bowling, which way do you tip the scales here?
It's actually good politics. It is politics. No matter what Debbie Wasserman Schultz says or Jay Carney blames the politics on the Republicans, this is Democrat politics at its best or worst, depending on your side. The Koch brothers donate, and Bob goes, his head explodes. Harry Reid calls them un-American. Bob says, "Oh, they're terrible," and they're playing by the rules. They're donating to causes that they believe in. Meanwhile, this joker, Tom Steyer, frankly, he's doing the same thing. He's doing what he believes in. He's offering $100 million.
Do you have a problem with what he's doing?
Not at all. Do your thing, Steyer. My only problem is the way he's treated in the Senate. The Senate chamber was held open overnight, an all-nighter, so that they could appease Tom Steyer, and all those senators go, you know what? He's such a great philanthropist. He's worried about the environment. We're gonna have this discussion on global warming, spend the whole night there, just to get his money. In the meantime, on the other side, it happens on the other side, and it's un-American. The other politics, President Obama said, we need to wait for the State Department's analysis of whether or not what's the environmental effect of Keystone Pipeline. Well, they got that a couple of months ago. State Department said there is no negative impact for Keystone Pipeline. Go ahead. The Obama administration, what do? Do they go ahead? No, they say, let's just give it a few more months. We have 26 more questions we have to answer. All they're doing is waiting until the end of the midterms. And again, my guess is that after the midterms, they're going to put a kibosh on it.
I think they'll approve it after the midterms.
You do?
Because I think it will help Hillary Clinton in the presidential election if President Obama takes the hit in his last 2 years.
After they get the money from Steyer?
Yes.
Gotcha.
All right,
Maybe.
so far the punt came up a little bit short in how they handled it now, but you think long term they might make the right decision and do it after? Because again, it'll be politically expedient.
Yeah.
Okay, very good, Dana.
Nice sports metaphor,
Thank
too.
you.
I was trying to figure out which sport it was.
Football.
Well, it's football. Yes. Obama punts more than the Baltimore Ravens. They punted 98 times in 2013. Just wanted to point that out.
Wow, what a
Yes,
helpful
thank
little
you.
connection.
Good play, huh?
Okay. This is we're talking. We talk about religion. And religions of intolerance, but there's no religion more intolerant than environmentalism. They're willing to sacrifice our industry, the ability to become independent of maniacs across the country for an ideology. And the bigger lesson to me is that they're doing it even though it works, because if this works, and if we loosen the screws of the maniacs, if we actually create jobs, if we build our economy, you don't need progressive ideology anymore. The ideology of subversion is no longer necessary. It's pointless. So it actually works for them. He's not a procrastinator. He's a procrastinator. He delays everything out of the need for politics to keep their power in hand.
Well, isn't it convenient that we have a poll master sitting at this table? Mr. Beckel.
Well, first of all, let me say, I think I've changed my position on the Keystone Pipeline, because if it brings down heating oil, we could use it right in this studio right now.
Thank you.
Who's ever in charge of the heat in this place, could you please turn it up? I don't ever get cold, but today I'm cold.
I reversed like 6 years in age. Can
Listen, you could call it, is it politics? Yeah, probably politics. But listen, here's the point. It's the same reason that the Republicans don't want to talk about immigration reform in a political year. They don't want to get themselves out on something that would hurt their base, even though there's some reasonable Republican proposals on immigration. This is nothing new. Are you guys kidding me? Were you naive coming into this process? It's 6 months to the election. This pipeline is going to take 7 or 8 years to build. It can wait another 5 months.
Bob, it's going to create jobs. It's going to bring the price of fuel down. By the way, if you don't use the pipeline to bring fuel for oil from Canada down to Houston refineries, you're going to either truck it or rail it, which has a bigger carbon footprint than the pipeline. So environmentally, financially, every single reason to do the XL pipeline economically makes sense. But
the way,
you're not going to do it, except for one. Politics.
Well,
So politics is overweighing all those.
Just as I said about immigration reform. But can I ask you, why do you call Steyer a joker and you don't call the Koch brothers, Koch brothers?
It's Coke.
Can we just agree to stop?
What is wrong with you?
Why do you call him jokers and you don't call them jokers?
The joker comment. I said he has a right to do that, but so do the Koch.
The whole game of billionaire ping pong has to stop, okay? You got George Soros, then you got the Koch brothers, now you got Steyer. We get it. Everybody has their own billionaire in their corner. But the impression here, and what was your example, Bob, that you brought up, that this is like immigration? It's not like immigration, because it seems like every act that the president is doing is exactly what our adversaries want him to do. It's not. This is about prosperity. And he sees it as a negative. So that fits in with everything else. Mm-hmm. Immigration, there are a lot of Republicans with immigration plans that are planning on running. Rubio talks about it. You've got a lot of Republicans fighting over it. In this case, this is something that makes the country better. Our leader is becoming our kryptonite. He is rooting for the things that undermine us. That's what bothers people.
Well, immigration reform can make us a stronger country, and I think that
you could argue against that, though. You could say that it would actually hurt the lower classes, the people that lose jobs, and a lot of people on the left feel that way.
Well, there needs to be a full debate on it. But listen, there's a point here, I think, about the billionaire thing coming in and out of it. It is right that the amount of money in politics is beginning to impact policy in a way I've never seen it impact policy before, whether it's on the Democratic side or the Republican side. And it seems to me that when the days were when you had serious policy discussions and you had debates, you weren't depending on wondering what the cash register looked like before you made those decisions.
Okay, so there must be a lot of money coming in on the Democrat side, because we have Obamacare, we don't have the XL pipeline. You're winning those battles.
Because we think Obamacare is a good idea.
No, but now he's espousing, if you notice, some of the Hillary Clinton talking points for 2016.
By the way, I agree with Dana. I think they are going to approve the pipeline after November.
To help Hillary Clinton in her election.
Dana, you had another thought?
Well, I just think that this issue, energy and environment, rank, if you look at a lot of the polls, Bob, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that environmental issues rank amongst the lowest. The number one issues are jobs in the economy. On this issue, the Keystone Pipeline, President Obama has been handed several independent studies and ones from his own administration that show that the economic impact would be good and that the environmental impact would be negligible, not without risk, but those could be mitigated. And if you have 11 Democrat senators who are for it, and you have the Republicans, the president could actually have an amazing win here. And where are the Democrats going to go? I mean, is turnout in the midterm elections so important that the president is going to delay it this much?
For Democrats, you hit on something extremely important. A word: risk. What's the risk to approving the XL?
Well,
just give me a risk.
I'll give you a risk in political terms. It is a turnout issue.
No. What's the real actual risk to America if you approve XL?
I don't know enough about it. I assume it's not I assume there's not a lot of risk. I mean, I assume if it gets more energy.
So if there's no risk,
I don't think
and
it
it's going to create jobs, and it's going to bring fuel prices down.
It's just environmental activists.
Why not do it? Of course. You know what the risk is? You know what they're saying? They're saying there's a risk of spill. I'll tell you, I've spent 20 years in the oil business. There's way more risk of spilling when you're trucking a barrel of oil or putting it on a rail car. You're going to spill a lot more barrels of oil than if you put it in a pipeline.
Would it be better to have 13 million people finally get away towards getting citizenship?
But
wouldn't that make some sense?
You're walking away from the issue here is about an ideology that rejects industry, that rejects our military. We're cutting our military. We're hindering us in energy. But the great thing is Sandra Fluck got free pills. We have a president whose priorities and proportions are so off that he will make a personal phone call to guarantee somebody gets their pills, while there are millions of jobs on the line when it comes to fracking, when it comes to oil, when it comes to guys losing their jobs over the military cuts. That stuff is less important.
And it's a final political thought on this, which is this is not a clear-cut political issue, Republicans versus Democrats. As I said, 11 Democrats actually support the XL pipeline. And then today, the president of North America's building trade unions, his name is Sean McGarvey, he said that President Obama's decision to delay the Keystone pipeline further is a, quote, cold, hard slap in the face of America's workers, unquote.
It is. It really
maybe
is.
not
a union guy.
So every time that the Democratic Party makes these arguments against the Republicans, they certainly don't have clean hands in this situation. It's showing that they're putting ideology ahead of
the idea to say the Democrats are playing ideology and this is a progressive loss for America, as opposed to the right-wing crap we've been putting up with the last 2 decades.
You can't make that argument.
Give me a break.
That's not a response to what I said, Bob. You just said, give me a break. You didn't actually give me any facts. Elections matter. You guys won. This is what we are dealing with because you won. We have a president who should be running Epcot Center, not a country, because he doesn't see our values as superior to the world.
Let's take one of the things you said. You just said about the defense cuts. If anybody believes that defense budget does not need cuts, you're out of your mind. If you don't
I just met a guy who lost his job.
You know what it is?
A lot of people lose their jobs over a lot of things.
You know what it is, Bob?
Yeah, but this job matters.
This will provide jobs. Go ahead.
You know what the problem is? There is no risk. There's no downside. The only downside is not getting Tom Steyer's $100 million to Democrats. That's the only downside. America would be much better off. Your life would be better off. Your paycheck would be better. You wouldn't spend as much money on your heating bill. All you have to do is realize that there's literally no risk to it other than Steyer's money.
That's what you say, and I say that my life would be a lot better off without the Koch brothers. So there you go.
Just
why?
They support things that I think are absolutely detrimental to this country.
You're always blaming Coke.
I know. I'm a Pepsi man. That's why.
All right.